So I guess then there is also a difference between shoulds, so-called shoulds, and responsibility. I mean, people have the idea that they should do something, but I see that as different to actually having a responsibility. That's say there's a mother and she needs to look after a child. She has a responsibility to look after the child. But there's no should that she looks after the child. There's no there's nothing that we should do in life. Does that make sense?
You're trying to say that it appears as duty, but in fact it's a natural expression, right?
Yeah, and should would be more should is more mental, whereas responsibility is more natural, feeling what is the right thing to do, the natural flow, I suppose. True responsibility.
Well, the idea of right and wrong still exists, or is in the realm of mental being, but the act of a mother is pure, pure expression of that love, or selfless love, and care for the other being. So,
but I'm just thinking that there could be some impulses in this world that are more aligned to absorption, to true being, even though they're still mental to some degree, but there's a truth, a deeper truth there within the action, if that makes sense.
Well, if this mother who takes care thinks or has afterthoughts that I do take care and it's so burdensome, it's so difficult, then she's not, her role and her being are not aligned. She's not genuine in that action. If she doesn't have such thoughts and she takes joy in a pleasure in serving her child just because she feels connected and loves to do what she does, then it's an act of spontaneity and natural self-expression. So when people, let's say, and it doesn't apply only to mother-child care, it applies to anything we do in this life, in this world. If it's a natural expression of ourselves, it doesn't get opposed so easily, because we're so in flow, so in tune with our being, that whatever we do, no matter however we express ourselves, it doesn't find resistance, or that resistance doesn't mean anything to our natural flow. The actual resistance comes from the internal resistance, when we have opposing currents within our consciousness. One part of our consciousness wants to do it, and the other part of our consciousness doubts. So these doubting currents within our consciousness, or doubting streams, negative streams, they are somewhat occulted. We're not always aware of them, but their impact is visible. Their role is undeniable, because then we start facing resistance from the external world. And so we wonder, like, I've got such a beautiful idea, I want to manifest this, I want to create this in this world, but somewhat I constantly come across obstacles. My projects hit a snag. I can't do this, I can't go through this. It's because there are some opposing currents within. Somewhat you have that self-expression, but yet you also have unrefined side within your consciousness. And this unrefined consciousness streams itself to whether you realize it consciously or don't realize it. So that's why self-refinement and self-observation are so important, so that we actually learn that we may have some undercurrents within that affect us when we try to creatively manifest or do something. And so sometimes people need to spend a great deal of time figuring out which one of those currents is actually their natural self, a natural expression, rather than some sort of a way their corrupt, limited identity is trying to express itself into the world and get validation, let's say. So if they realize the original motive of this self-expression, they will see whether it's corrupt or not. Because if it's the way to express in order to get something back to oneself from this projected reality, like validation, acknowledgement, reward, or some kind of stimulation, then it's not a genuine self-expression. Then it's a corrupt motive. It's the way the corrupt identity tries to express itself and feeds off the matrix, let's say, off the projected reality. When it's natural being, it's like you're in the moment, you express yourself in the moment, and once the moment is gone, there's no residue, there are no afterthoughts, nothing's left. That's it. You never go back to it. That is called selfless being. So if it's truly selfless, it doesn't leave that residue within your consciousness. Oh, I've done it. This is it. This is that. If there's some sort of residue, it means that consciousness clings to the action of the body, to the expression of the self through the body. And so such consciousness is still unrefined, or to some degree unrefined. So it needs to take care of it. The purer the expression, the stronger the impact will be on the projected reality. So if it's, let's say, a very evolved being expresses themselves, their whole being emanates, the presence, the uttered words, the impact will be much greater than that of a unrefined being or corrupt being, a limited being, whose expression is more dispersed, whose force of expression is more dispersed. So if it's a pure being, it's the expression is very intense. And it can be intense in both cases. So, but usually refined beings do not have that corrupt sort of identity anymore. So if they're refined, it means that their expression is just sort of natural, spontaneous, and non-violent in a way, or wise, stating something, but it doesn't it doesn't connect or sprout out from their limited identity, because this limited identity is dissolved. They're more of a kind of it's dissolved in the higher collective. So that's the point. Yeah, you're right. It's such a being does not express itself through inferiority or superiority. It emits equanimity. And equanimity means, it doesn't mean that always in stating facts, but it's equanimity of being within. And the more you are equanimous, the stronger will the impact be. The stronger the impact of your expression or your manifestation of being in general.